If you're thinking about raising pigs, you're gonna wanna stick around for this video. But first, head down below, hit that subscribe button. That way you can stay up to date with all the cool stuff we're doing on our homestead, and maybe learn something here or there. Let's get into talking about pigs. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Jack, and we've been raising pigs for 3 years now. We're in our 3rd year. While that's still relatively new in the grand scheme of things, I feel that we're in a unique position to still remember the mistakes that we've made so far and the things that we've learned. And in the 3 years that I've been raising pigs, I have learned a lot about keeping pigs on the homestead and being able to provide meat for the family. And while it's only 3 years in, I feel like we're in this unique position where while I'm learning every day with the pigs, I'm also still very cognizant of the mistakes that I've made over the years with the pigs, and am able to remember those and know what it feels like to be a complete beginner with them. So I wanted to put this video out there for anybody that's thinking of raising pigs and just give you 5 quick things that you should know when you get into this process. And as you can hear behind me, the pigs are gonna help me segue right into the first one. The first one is to be ready with the whole feed situation, because your pigs are gonna eat a lot. When you get your pigs at about 2 months old, they're gonna be eating 2 pounds of feed a day per pig. When they're 3 months old, they're gonna be eating 3 pounds of feed. When they're 4 months old, they're gonna be eating 4 pounds of feed. And it goes that way up to 6 months, and that's about where these guys are. And once at 6 months, you're gonna cap that feed at 6 pounds a day. Now for us, raising 9 pigs this year, that's 54 pounds of feed a day that we're going through. If you're not prepared for it, that can get pretty expensive, because you need to realize over time you're going to be feeding that feed to the pigs, whether you're feeding them other treats like vegetables from the garden or food scraps from your kitchen. There's a mindset out there that you can feed your pigs garbage, just regular slop and scrap from restaurants and bread and donuts and things like that. And that's not true. If you feed your animals that type of feed, you're not going to end up with good quality pork at the end of it. And if that's the way you're going to do it, then you might as well just buy your stuff from the grocery store, because we're not doing this to save money. We're doing this to raise better food than what you can buy in the grocery store, even if you're in a place like Whole Foods or a custom butcher shop or something like that. That kind of leads right into my second point about getting ready to have pigs on your small farm or homestead. That point is to plan for 6 to 8 months of time out of your schedule. When you get a feeder pig, it's going to be about 2 months old, and you want to process that pig, depending on the breed and how fast it grows, between 6 and 8 months. And that's going to get you your best yield. You're shooting for between 265 to 300 pounds of hanging weight. That means you're going to be looking for about 350 pounds live weight on the Berkshire Duroc and Yorkshire pigs that we've raised in the past. Coonies, IPPs, other pigs like that, American guinea hogs, which my friend Brian over at the Homestead Journey podcast raises. Those are smaller pigs, and you're going to have lower hanging weights, but they're still going to take the same time to grow out to get to those breeds' respective market weights. And while it's not the end of the world, you really want to try to plan the time you're going to be doing it so that you're not running your feeder pigs into the winter. The reason on that is because once winter rolls around, your pigs are going to be taking more of that feed and using it to keep themselves warm than they will to be putting on weight. So if the schedule you're looking at allows for it, you really want to run your pigs from spring. We try to get ours around April into fall. That puts us at a slaughter date of around mid-November. We've run into December in the past, and while it's totally doable, where we are typically by the first couple weeks of December, there's some snow on the ground, and that can make your electric fences a little bit tricky. So try to pick 6 months in the middle of the year where you're not going to run into snow issues, and while you have adequate warmth for the pigs to put on a lot of weight. The third thing you should know about pigs is that they will test your fencing setup. If you saw the video we put out about one of our pigs, Dobby, escaping, we're still on the fence, even with Dobby as being one of the more timid ones, and he doesn't tend to challenge the fence. We don't know if he got himself out or if he was pushed out by another pig. But either way, it's important to know that your fencing solution should be solid and adequate for keeping pigs in. We have gone with 2 strands of 1/2-inch poly tape. We've used poly wire in the past. I think now that the poly tape is a little bit more visible to the pigs and it works a little bit better. But the only thing keeping our pigs in is 2 strands of electric fence. We don't have a high tensile perimeter fence. We don't have hog panels going all the way around our enclosure. Our pigs are mostly held in psychologically because we trained them when they were little piglets to not challenge electric fences. We had an electric strand inside of their hog wire enclosure when they were little. Now that they know as older pigs not to touch the fence, we don't need to have a super huge expensive fencing solution. That said, if you're gonna raise pigs and you're gonna use electric fence, it's important to know that they are trained to that electric fence and that you keep that charger hot and you don't let the charger go out, or you don't turn the charger off accidentally and forget to put it on, because the pigs will frequently test that electric fence to see if that fence is still on and it's still going to shock them. And if the fence is not on and they figure that out, you can see that there's not much holding them in here. It's low to the ground. They can push right through it. It's not something where you really want it going out of service, and the pig's finding out about it. So that's just something to know. Keep an eye on your fence, walk the perimeter frequently. Make sure if you're using an electric fence that there's no sticks or branches on it, or it's not shorting out anywhere. If you have the means for a high tensile setup, or a hog panel, a completely hog paneled enclosure, by all means go for it. But if you're on a budget and you're a small time farmer, then 2-strand electric is more than adequate. And if you keep those pigs trained and you keep an eye on top of it, it's worked out fine for us for the last 3 years. 4th thing that you should know about raising pigs. Pigs can be dangerous. You're talking about an animal here that toward the end of its time on your farm is going to be at least approaching, if not, see? Back off. These animals are going to be approaching 300 at the very least. Most likely they're going to be well over 300 pounds toward the end of their time on your farm. And all of these animals are descended and were bred from wild boars. They have large, sharp teeth that can really do damage to a person. Your domestic pigs do have those tusks and teeth as well. In the feeder setup like we do, they don't have time to grow out the tusks fully by the time it's time to process them. But these are large animals. They can be unpredictable, and you need to treat them as such. Even as I'm just standing here talking to you in the pen with them, I'm keeping an eye on my back. I'm not letting them get too close to me if they come up. They'll be friendly and they don't mean any harm. They're just coming up to sniff around. But the last thing I want is one to kind of sneak up behind me, look at my leg and say, hey, what's that taste like? Is it going to be good? And to try and take a chunk out of me. I had an incident late last year where I was working in the pig pen in the snow. I was building a quick temporary shelter to give the pigs a way to get away from an early season snow that we had. And I hit myself in the face. How do I look? Do I have a fat lip right now? A little bit right there. Ooh. With a tree branch that I was trying to push out of the way. The tree branch snapped and it whacked me right in the lower jaw here. It knocked some teeth loose. It cut my lip pretty good and I was injured. I'm lucky that it wasn't a larger tree branch and that it didn't knock me out, because I was out in the pig enclosure, which was, a couple 100 feet from the house. I was out there alone and Jackie was inside. But if something had happened to me, if I had been knocked out and I fell down in the pig pen, I'm not 100% sure that those pigs wouldn't have injured me. I like to think that they would know, hey, that's the guy that brings us feed. What's going on? Why is he on the ground? And it doesn't take much when you've got a 300-pound animal, as they were close to the end. It doesn't take much for them to bite you and do major damage. So please, if you're gonna raise pigs, take them seriously. Know that they are an animal that can genuinely do some damage to you if it wants to. They are domesticated. They tend to be pretty friendly, but don't trust them. The last thing I'm going to clue you in on is what you see behind me. And this is that pigs need a wallow. Pigs don't sweat. They're not able to cool their body by sweating like we do. So the pigs will build a wallow. They'll press down on the waters and they'll let water out into an area specifically to make it muddy and filthy, and they'll pee in it and they'll poop in it, and it can get kind of smelly. And that's not a bad thing. That's just what pigs naturally want to do. They want to create a wallow for themselves to cool off on hot summer days. But you need to plan accordingly. We kind of didn't this year. So you can see there's the wallow, and there is our house right there. And the wind predominantly blows from behind the camera over my shoulder toward the house. Normal years, it wouldn't be such a big issue, but we've had a really wet year. The wallow has been what I would consider a little bit stinkier than usual. It's not the end of the world. We have a farm. I don't want to say I appreciate the smell, but the smell at this point, it doesn't bother me. It smells like a farm. It doesn't smell like a gigantic pond of pig poop. It just smells like I have a farm, which I do. So I don't know why that would be surprising to me. So when you're setting up your pig pen, that is something that you should be aware of, that there is going to be one spot of the pig pen that tends to be a little bit smellier than others. They will poop in other places. They will pee in other places. But that wallow is a place that they're going to return to time and time again. And it's typically near their water source. If you're trying to plan the space out and give the pigs, kind of direct them to where you want the wallow to be, putting the water near where you want the wallow to be is probably your best bet to make sure that happens. There's also people that will put down solid surfaces around where the water is and build a wallow at another location. That's another way you can do it. We've tended to just let the pigs build the wallow where they want to in the past, and sort of guided them to that place by putting the water there. Now, obviously, we didn't do it this year. I am actually building a new waterer. There's a video that I'm working on that. It's a multi-day project. But I'm building a new waterer using an IBC tote. It's going to have 4 nipples on it instead of the 2 that we have now. It's going to hold more water than the 55-gallon drum that we're using now, because they empty that 55-gallon drum every day. And with 9 pigs, we've still got almost 2 months to go before processing. It would be nice to not have to fill the 55-gallon drum every day. So that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you learned something. If you did and you want to stay in touch with the channel, I'd appreciate hitting that subscribe button down below. As always, have a great day. Bye.